Welcome into the studio. I've got a free reference photo up in Photoshop, and I'm just going to show you how I go about getting a nice print out. Now, if you don't work from a really good print, you're going to struggle then to actually produce good art from it. Okay, so I really try to get my print out as accurate to what I've achieved on the screen. So usually I've gone into Photoshop, edited the image, I may have adjusted the contrast or whatever in it to get it just as I wanted it, and then it's amazing how many artists then print out and it looks terrible on the print, even though they may have spent 30 minutes, an hour or whatever on the screen to perfect it. It looks terrible on the print, and then they paint and draw from that. Then they're disappointed with how it looks. So if you're working from a print, you really owe it to yourself to get a good quality print out. Now you can do this the complicated way, which is probably the right way, and get ICC profiles and all different things, match your screen up to the printer and pay all money for tools that do that. But I'm just going to show you a quick, cheap and cheerful way of getting a much better print. Okay, so the first mistake people usually make, they just use normal inkjet paper, normal printer paper, you know, the stuff that comes in a ream of 500 sheets or whatever. That's never going to give you a good enough print to work from. Okay, so if you're doing that, you're shortchanging yourself, and you really need to spend just a little bit of money on better quality paper, because what normally happens when you use just standard inkjet paper is you end up with a print that looks like this. Okay, so I don't know if you can relate to that. If you're someone that does that, that's what I want to be working from. That's what I generally would be with inkjet paper, because with the inkjet paper you lose the contrast, so your blacks won't be really black, and you'll also lose the punchiness, the vibrancy of the color. Okay, so you can imagine, how are you going to know things should look like that when you're working from a print that looks like that? So what do I actually do when I print out? Well, for a start, I use a decent quality paper. So that could be a matte photo paper or glossy photo paper. I generally use matte because if I use glossy, with the amount of lights I've got in the studio for video shooting, I can get a lot of glare. With the matte, you don't get the glare. Okay, so I usually use a matte photo paper. It doesn't have to be super expensive, but you know, try a couple out. And then this is what I do to get my good print. I go File. Now I'm using Photoshop at the moment for this, but virtually all the other image editors does something very, very similar. File, Print, and then I make sure with color handling here in the middle, I've got it as Printer Manages Colors. That's my printer type name up there. It's just a cheap Epson XP620, so it's nothing special. But then I go into print settings. Now, it's usually set by default to plain papers. So make sure once you've got your matte paper or your glossy paper or whatever, you go and click this plain papers and select the correct paper. So if you're using a matte, it may be, you know, it doesn't have to be Epson matte, but you know, if you're using a nice quality thickish matte paper, select matte. And then I go into more options, advanced, so you click custom here, and if you're using Epson, it'll be very similar. If you're using HP, it'll have a different version of all this, but you'll be able to find it. I go into advanced, and then it'd be Epson standard here, this gamma I've got 1.8, and then I leave everything alone. And all I would then do is just OK, and I'd print it. Okay. Very often the print will come out less than perfect. It'll look more like this. So it's almost there, but very often it's not as vibrant as I want it to be. And as I said, you can go around the, you know, complicated but probably right way of doing it. You can adjust it in Photoshop and really boost everything up, like I said, more than you would want it to be, and hope the printout's going to come out right. If it's just off a little bit like that, all I do is go once again into File, Print, Print Settings. I've got that Epson matte selected. If you're using glossy paper, obviously you choose one of the glossy ones. Then I go More Options. Still got that Custom there selected. I go Advanced, and now I select Epson Vivid. Okay, Epson Vivid, and that will boost up the colors and the vibrancy of it. Now that'll probably do the trick. Okay, so you print out and that'll probably do it. If it doesn't, you can click this in Epson. Like I say, Hewlett Packard and all the others will have something similar. I like this slide bar setting. Okay, so by here, if you can't see a slide bar, I'm in color controls. See color management up here? I'm in color controls. And then if, for instance, the image is too yellow, I can drag the yellow down a bit. If it's too blue, I can drag that down and up, whatever I want. And I can also alter contrast, brightness and saturation. So it gives you that little bit of control when your image is almost there but not quite, and you're using good quality paper. This can just punch it up a bit. That's usually where it's lacking, and then you just click OK, OK, and then print it out. So that's a simple way to get your prints looking more contrasty, so having the full tonal range and also having the correct amount of color in there as well. So it's just an easy way of doing it. So hopefully that'll help you out, and I'll see you all on the next video. Just wanted to quickly mention my Patreon channel for those looking for even more in-depth art instruction. It's packed full of pastel videos, oil videos as well, and those videos are being added to new ones every single month. I have videos for the complete beginner that have never done pastels or oils before with just limited supplies, and I take you from the very first blocking in all the way through to the final detailed drawings and paintings. I've also got some really unusual subjects as well, and in all of my videos I always take you through all the details. You see everything I do, how I create my work. But it's not just for beginners, it's also for novices, and I also show the best artwork that I've ever done as well. And this particular elephant video spans 6 hours, so you know you're going to see tons and tons of details, tips and techniques. And as mentioned, I've got lots of oil videos on there too, so there really is something for everybody, and you get access to hundreds of hours worth of videos for just $4. Now over 1,000 members strong. Hope to see you there soon.